Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. And guys, I did this video 3 times already. Once before when he was 3 weeks old, and now he's gonna be 4 months old this Wednesday. Say hi, Yash. Alright, so today's topic is for the mommies and for new parents out there who are struggling with breastfeeding. So let's start out with a dictionary definition of breastfeeding. So breastfeeding is just the action of feeding the baby with milk from the breast. So in a nutshell, that is what breastfeeding is, right? And breastfeeding, also called nursing, those terms are used interchangeably. And if you hear someone say they're nursing their child, they also mean that they're breastfeeding their child. Okay, so when you come home from the hospital, right, the first 3 days of having your child, you as a new mom would realize that the breast milk is not milky white as we see, in movies, or even we see someone express their milk. It's not milky white. The first 3 days, the breast milk has a yellowish tint to it, and this is called colostrum. So colostrum is the first form of milk produced by the mammary glands of the mammals immediately following delivery of a newborn. So yes, human beings, we are mammals. So yes, this does apply to us as well. So the colostrum, compared to mature milk, that is the actual white milky substance, has a high bioactive compound, and this is necessary specifically for newborns to help protect them and fight against diseases and infections. Okay, just as how when you are pregnant with your child for 40 weeks, that's usually the duration, 40 to 42 weeks, but not a lot of persons go that far though. Just as how you paying keen attention to your diet while you are pregnant with your child, you have to make sure that while the baby is here, you are eating well just the same. Because here's the thing, everything that you eat has an effect on the baby, and when you don't eat as well, that has an effect on the baby. So basically, through experience, I've really discovered that drinking a lot of water really helps. It helps the letdown process, right? So there's certain foods that you can eat that can boost your breast milk production. So we have ginger, we have lentils, we have nuts, we have spinach, we have sweet potatoes, we have oats, we have fennel, we have garlic, we have brown rice, we have brewer's yeast, we have asparagus, we have apricots, we have carrots, we have coconut oil, dill, hummus, papaya. For me personally, I do bulgur rice and lentils. I eat that every week, probably 3 or 4 times out of the week. We're eating bulgur rice with lentils. Coconut oil, you can cook with your coconut oil. Likewise, just as how you have foods that boost breast milk production, you have foods out there that actually decrease your breast milk production. So number 1 is parsley. We have sage. Foods that are high in citric acid, soft drinks, black teas, things that are heavily caffeinated. And yes guys, you have some teas that actually do have caffeine. Some persons only feel as if coffee is the only caffeinated beverage. That's not true. You have to make sure that you check with your doctor before you take any kind of medication over the counter. Maybe you're used to, self-medicating, and I want you to always check with your doctor to make sure that it's safe while breastfeeding, because not everything is safe, not even natural herbs, not everything is safe while breastfeeding. Okay guys, so how to tell if your baby is getting enough milk, right? I had this problem with my first daughter. Obviously I was a rookie mom, I didn't understand. Experience does teach wisdom. So here's a simple indication, the amount of wet diapers per day. Because when the nurses came to my house, because I had her at UE, so they did house visits. That was in 2018, and they said she should be doing she should have about 10 dirty diapers a day. So she was having like 5 or even 4. That was because she was not latching properly. She was not getting enough, and I didn't understand those concepts, those terms, and that's how she actually developed the jaundice, because the bilirubin is expelled through excretion, through the peeing and the pooing, and it was building up inside of her, that yellow pigment, the jaundice. So that's exactly what was happening with my first daughter. What you have to listen out for is that swallowing sound. Here's the thing, letdowns come in increments, right? So sometimes the baby will be there sucking, sucking, sucking. You have to be patient too. Don't just pull the baby off and say, oh, I don't have enough milk, so the baby is not getting milk. No, sometimes he or she has to suck, 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 and you would actually feel this is built up, right? And then you would just feel the release. That is called letdown, right? And usually the letdown comes in increments. So basically the baby actually stimulates the breast, because that's how breast milk works. Breast milk is like supply and demand. The more it's stimulated, is the more milk you produce. So if it is that your young one is sleeping and you want to have a supply of breast milk, the best thing to do is create a schedule where you pump. You can even pump even when nothing is coming out, and you do that in 20-minute intervals, and basically it will generate some reaction telling your brain that, hey, something's happening down here, someone's knocking, they're asking for milk, so we need to produce more milk. And that's how, you know, that's how you see some videos where you have moms that have a whole shelf filled with breast milk, because they actually apply this method. So we did speak about foods that affect breast milk supply, whether it increases or decreases, and yes, there are other factors that contribute to the decline of breast milk. Those are hormonal factors. Stress is the #1 killer of breast milk supply. And how that works is that when you're stressed out for whatever reason, the first couple of weeks can be very stressful. You're sleep deprived, you're adjusting, you have a newborn, you don't understand why they're crying, and you want to sleep. When we're stressed, cortisol increases, and that is what actually decreases or even diminishes our breast milk. And this is something that I believe is the cause of a lot of women saying that, you know, they don't produce a lot of milk for the babies and whatnot. The world is highly stressful, and having a newborn is not easy. A good latch promotes high milk flow, right? And it also minimizes nipple discomfort in the mothers, because if the baby isn't latched correctly, you can have new mothers, inexperienced breastfeeders with sore nipples and, you know, bleeding, because I actually experienced blistering nipples with my daughter because she was not latching correctly. And of course, it can be painful for you. Another stressor. Look at this chain reaction of how your milk can completely get diminished, right? So you have your baby, you're ready to feed your baby, baby's not latching correctly. After all of that turmoil, your nipples are sore, some cases they're cracked, blistered, bleeding. This hurts, it's actual pain. This is painful, right? I've experienced this with my first child. This is painful. Now you're stressed, the baby's crying because he didn't get anything. He's hungry. Okay, so you mix your formula and you find, okay, this is just way easier. Let's just give him the formula. He drinks the formula, couple hours go by, breasts aren't stimulated, milk, brain, nothing is telling the brain to make more milk. Nobody is, you know, actually demanding anything of the breast, right? And then when you decide a couple hours later or even the next day to try it again, you find that, you know, the letdown isn't happening. Why? Because of the lack of stimulation, guys. So you see how improper latch could have such a detrimental ripple effect. So it is important, it is imperative, it is salient, it is key that we have the correct latch. Here are signs of a poor latch. Now, the baby's making smacking sounds, right? If you sound like a baby eating an oxtail bone, then the baby's not latched properly. So another question is, how do I fix my baby's latch, right? Okay, so right. So you just reposition until you see that the baby's mouth is completely over your nipple and your areola, right? Signs of a good latch. 1. Thing is pain-free and comfortable. 2. Your baby's chest and stomach rest against your body so that the baby's head is straight and not turned to the side. 3. Your baby's lips are turned out. Alright, so there are different ways you can birth your baby. You can have your baby sitting in a seated position, hand here, right on the chest like so, and you just gently rub. You have your hand in a cupping position and you pat like this, not like this, but kind of cupping, and you pat like this, right? This is one way you can birth your baby. But I believe the most effective way to birth your baby is to have their stomach compressed against either your chest like this, and you just rub here or cup here like so, and by having their abdomen compressed against your chest or even against your lap, that will help the gas bubble to come out much more easier, and you won't have to be there for half an hour rubbing or 15 minutes. I find that this is the simplest way, the quickest way to actually birth your baby. As far as getting a deep latch, right, you want to make sure, as I said, that the baby's chest is against us like so. So here's a breastfeeding position. This is one. So you have your hand crossed like this. You hold their head and you put it directly onto your bosom like so. So this is one position that will ensure a deep latch. What I do most of the times is I have a pillow under here. I have him there and I just turn his head directly here. So when someone says they're engorged, it means that your breasts are painfully filled with milk, right? That needs to be expressed ASAP. So obviously the improper latch can actually cause this, because if it is that you're not getting to express that milk, there is a buildup, and this buildup hurts, right? And the most extreme side is mastitis, where they're rock hard to the touch, they're rock hard, they're warm to the touch, and you may actually develop lumps in your breast that need medical attention, right? So we don't want to get there. So here are some steps to alleviate engorged breasts for new moms or reoccurring moms. Step 1 is to use a warm compress. Everyone always says we need to bathe our breasts with warm water to help soften the tissues around, to promote letdown. Feeding more regularly or pumping. Nursing for as long as the baby is hungry. Massaging the breast while breastfeeding. I did to get rid of my engorged breast, and I experienced this twice in the first week of Yashaya being born and also Shayara being born. With Shayara, it wasn't as intense or extreme, and all I did basically was use a electric pump and just expel. And with Yashaya now, this one was a lot more difficult, because this one was extreme, and what I had to do, I had to go and purchase something called a hacker. It is a silicone manual pump. I'm going to insert a picture here, and that worked wonders. That really uses the natural pull. So it's not something, the pull is not generated by an electrical impulse or you manually pumping. You're just going to squeeze aside and you cup it over your breast, and it just really uses that natural pull to just expel all that breast. So once you have, I find it works best when you're feeding the baby on one breast and you put it on the other, because as new moms you're going to realize that once you stimulate one breast, the other one is going to actually generate, it's like a ripple effect. It generates like a letdown effect. So what you could do, instead of wasting all that milk, you just cup the hacker there, and while you're feeding the baby on the left breast, the right is being stimulated and the hacker stores that milk that is expelled.